Welcome to Balham! From Acton Town to Wimbledon, from Brixton to beyond, come love your London with us and sing with us this song. There's no more smog, but we've a vlog to brighten up your day. Come love your London with us, from Kew to Haringey. Come out with us and play, love your London, have a banana. Welcome to a brand new episode of a brand new series on Balham. 100% of proceeds from today's episode, whether it be through advertising, affiliate links, or the proceeds from the auction of Sharon's pen and ink drawing of the majestic Duquesne Court, Balham's fabulous Art Deco landmark, which we will of course be visiting in this episode. Yes, 100% of the proceeds will be going to support the amazing work that the White Eagle Club on Balham High Road is doing to sort donations and bring them by the truckload straight to the Ukrainian border. We speak to some of the volunteers and find out more. So, if there's ever an episode we need you to share, this is it. Share it wide. Get the message out there. This is not for us this time. This is for the people trying to escape the horrors of the war in Ukraine, and we'll be supporting them directly. But those of you who clicked on this video for some light relief, fear not. There is plenty of light-hearted fun as well as we discover what the area around the south and east of Balham Station have to offer. And we even have a good look around the Bedford, home of the Banana Cabaret, a comedy club since 1983 that is still haunted, apparently, by a ghost. This is a bumper episode, a bit longer than usual, but trust us, it's going to be a good one. And a very important one as well. Only kidding. We know it's Balham, not Balham, but we'll explain why we said Balham a little bit later on in the episode. There is a story behind it. It's quite fun. You probably know it already, but some of our viewers won't. Anyway, so here we are. We are at Balham Station. It's an underground station and it's a National Rail station as well. So let's see what our little book of magic has got in store for us. We're in Balham. This is exciting. We're not just doing Balham, by the way, in this series. We're doing Balham, we're doing Tooting Beck, Tooting Broadway. We might even get as far as Clapham South, because Clapham South is technically in Balham. But we're not going to go too far into Wandsworth or into Streatham, because then, well, we're needing those for other episodes of their own. But this is Balham, so there's so much to tell you about this place, to be honest. I think the best place to start is right here by the station, because as you know, we always start off telling you a little about the station. Well, this is in Zone 3. Zone 3 is on the Northern Line, and it's on the National Rail. National Rail goes up to London Bridge and Victoria, and also all the way down as well. I was going to say it's fully accessible, but in fact the only accessible part is the National Rail bit. The National Rail bit, platforms 1 and 2 are fully accessible. They're the main ones. Unfortunately, platforms 3 and 4 are not step free, but they're hardly ever used. There is a toilet as well, and the toilet is fully accessible. If you're a wheelchair user, you can use one of those key things to get in. So fantastic. However, the tube part has no toilets, and it's not accessible. It's all escalators and stuff. So unfortunately, it's only sort of like halfway there. By the way, the tube station is open 24 hours on the weekend. It's one of those very lucky stations that are open all night on the weekend. And yes, and it's a grade 2 listed station. As you can see, we've got the station over here. This is a typical Charles Holden design, and over there we've got almost like the exact same thing just over here.
Are you filming?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe in UFOs?
Yes, I do. Yes.
What time do you get out of bed in the morning?
I don't normally. I normally out in the afternoon unless I'm filming.
Because I'm quite nocturnal, and that's because of the.
Do you want to speak on camera a little bit?
No, because of the wind, like in the ionosphere.
Yeah.
They're trying to imitate satellites, but they're getting knocked around.
Well, what are
the fucking, like, whatever they are, you know, I don't know, they're not the like battle cruisers.
Right.
They're the like, you know, spy ships. But you can see them trying to look like satellites, but they're getting knocked around by the wind in the ionosphere.
Okay.
And it's very amusing.
All right.
Because I'm mainly nocturnal.
You're mainly nocturnal.
Yeah.
So am I.
And
I'm nocturnal.
and I go, and I started shooting my LED torch at them, and they get very embarrassed.
At the UFOs?
Well, no, just that. And they get really, really coy, and they start going.
What do you point? What do you point to that?
Just point it at them.
At what? At the
and also
at
the auroras.
Okay.
You know, pointing their torch at the auroras, and then they fucking swerve all over the place and they break formation and shit. Just point your LED torch at them.
Okay.
Because it goes for like probably thousands of kilometres in space, doesn't it?
You've got some of your business, by the way.
No, I'm not going to.
All right then.
I've lived here for 7 years. I'm wiser than that.
Do you like it here, by the way?
No, I hate it.
Why's that?
It's nice to see. It's a shithole. You know, where do you live?
I live in Whitechapel.
Exactly. No more questions.
Okay, it's not going to be that bad, I promise you. This is actually, I know that, I'm sorry we had to bleep that word out, but this is a family channel. We can't have those words on this channel, but yeah, it's not going to be as bad as that, honestly. I know he was quite negative about the area, but he's also maybe not completely sober at this moment in time. Okay, so let's carry on talking about this fantastic station. There's been a station here since 1856. The station was actually originally called Balham Hill, but from 1927 to 1969 it was actually known as Balham and Upper Tooting, but since 1969 it's been known as plain old Balham as it is today. Now there is a story that's actually quite sad connected to this station. 1940, one of the most horrific nights of the bombing of London by the German Luftwaffe claimed the lives of well over 60 people at the station. It's not sure exactly how many. Originally it was thought to be about 64 civilians and 3 members of staff, but it sort of goes up and down a bit. I'll explain it a bit now in a moment. As you can see now on your screen, there's a plaque on the wall, and actually that plaque that you can see now was erected in 2016. It's actually the 3rd time that the plaque has been put up. The first one was 2000, and that's when it mentioned 64 people being killed, with no mention of the 3 transport staff, so they wanted to change that. Because the figure was actually 67. Then in 2010 they replaced the plaque, but that one was considered to look a little bit tacky and cheap. So then in 2016 they put this fine plaque that you can see on the screen now. It doesn't actually give a figure on the plaque itself. They just it just says the civilians and London transport staff who were killed at this station. But as you can see also on your screen, there is a little explanatory poster where it says well over 60, because it's vague, and I suppose they don't really want to put on the plaque how many people, because in case it goes up to 68, because there are some people who claim in fact it was 68. The Imperial War Museum says that 68 people died, not 67. So if they changed it, then they'd have to change it again. Unfortunately, the station master also lost his life in the explosion. So as you know, and unfortunately you know it all too well because of the horrible news that we're seeing on our television screens coming from Kiev at the moment, tube tunnels, subway tunnels are used a lot, and have always been used, well, since they were built, as bomb shelters, and that's precisely what happened here. There were 600 odd people sheltering in that tunnel that night, that fateful night of the 14th of October 1940. 600 people, and it's actually amazing that only 60 odd people died, because what happened is the bomb fell right into the street. Here's this picture, you probably have seen it at the moment. There's a picture here of a bus, fortunately without any passengers, that fell into the crater. And obviously the people in the bomb shelter were covered with rubble. Sewage and water and gas started filling the tunnels as well. So It was horrific. It's amazing that over 500 people managed to get out, to be honest. But yeah, so that's what this station is sadly best known for. Oh, by the way, if you've ever read the book Atonement by Ian McEwan, you'll know that this awful bombing plays quite a pivotal part in that book. Unfortunately, he got the date wrong because Ian McEwan places it in September 1940, and of course it happened on the 14th of October. The film version of Atonement does do a little bit better, but it says 15th of October, so one day out. They don't do their fact-checking, do they? Ian McEwan, get in touch with me if you ever need any further sort of like research on your future books, because we do research on this channel. Actually, on your screen now you can see a quite cute little map from 1862 where you can just see how isolated the station is. It's just in this field with like a little clutch of houses next to it and the odd farm here and there. It was all farmland, but in fact this area, Balham, goes back long before 1862. It's actually people were here in the Saxon times, and before then. It's listed in the Domesday Book as Belgaham. Bal means a rounded enclosure, and ham obviously means a village, so a village around a rounded enclosure. But we know it goes back even further because, well, I mean, there's been archaeological finds. This fine road here, which goes between the two entrances, exits, that's a Roman road. It's a very straight road. This is a Roman road. It used to be Stane Street, one of the most well-known Roman roads that goes between London Bridge and Chichester. So this is it. Romans built this. Obviously, they've done it up a bit, haven't they? But yeah, this is a Roman road, and so it's probably, I would have thought that there were probably plenty of settlements around here in Roman times as well, and there have been archaeological finds to support this. Hey, look at that. King George. Don't see very many of them. I can't actually tell you if it's King... the reason I just say King George, not King George V or the 6th, I can't actually remember which one it is. Yeah, I was rather hoping there'd be a little Roman symbol there to tell me, but probably King George VI. Anyway, reason I brought you here, we haven't actually finished on this intersection. This is a really interesting intersection. Check this out. Intersections. This is really interesting. Honestly, I'm telling you. Unfortunately, this crossing is not in use at the moment, so we can't really show it in use. But what I'm trying to explain to you and tell you about, this is the very first X-crossing in the entire UK. Obviously, they happened in Tokyo, the really famous ones in Tokyo, and I'm sure you've seen the one in Oxford Circus. But 4 years before the one in Oxford Circus, this is where they trialled it, this X-crossing. And what it means, basically, I mean, X-crossing, for American viewers, they're called diagonal crossings. I think in Canada they're called scramble crossings or something like that. Some of them call them Barnes dancers or something like that. Anyway, this is the first one, and what it means, as you can see, all the traffic is stopped. Well, just started again at the same time, which means that you can cross the road diagonally, and it saves time for the pedestrians. And also you can cross it laterally as well. Now, that's not the only thing that this intersection is famous for. Now, unfortunately, they've got temporary traffic lights here at the moment because of the current roadworks. But another thing that this intersection is famous for is it is the first, not just in London, not just in the UK, not just in Europe, but the whole world. This is the very first place where pedestrian scoot was used. Pedestrian scoot is a technology that is now quite, well, it's all over the place, but it's a British invention. It's the very first time it was used. It basically, there's these little cameras. They don't identify the faces of the people, or I hope not anyway, but they do count to see how many people there are wanting to cross the roads and whether or not to stop the traffic or not. Because obviously you don't just stop one road, you might want to stop all 4 roads at the same time. So if there are a lot of people here wanting to cross, then you'd stop all 4. But it's very clever because the cameras can tell whether someone has pressed a button and then changed their mind and decided not to cross after all, or perhaps someone pressed a button and thought, I'm just going to cross the road, even though the lights are red for pedestrians. And so then it will cancel the request, the stop request. So it's intelligent. And this is where it's trialled. I mean, it wasn't just here, it was here and in Tooting Bec. We'll actually be visiting Tooting Bec in a later episode of this series. But so this, the honour of being the first place to use pedestrian scoot is both here in Balham and in Tooting Bec. And now it's used all over the world. I know it's used in Stratford, in the East End, it's used everywhere. Anyway, so yeah, so let's carry on walking now down here. Because I know there's an awful lot of there's an awful lot of bombs and stuff in this episode, I know, but unfortunately Balham has been at the other end of another, fortunately non-tragic event involving explosives. Over there, that building, that is Irene House. I love it. Check it out. It dates from the late 40s. When the welfare state started in the UK, this was right at the forefront. This building was, it was called, I think, National Assistance then, but it's a benefits office, and it was benefits office until very recently. So on the 17th of July 1974, what is presumed to be the provisional IRA, they never actually admitted it, let off a bomb here at 4:30 in the morning, so nobody thankfully was injured or hurt. They let it off at a dustbin next to the church. That's a Protestant church. Perhaps they were attempting to get the church. The church did actually sustain more damage than the Dole office. But either way, it went off there, and a lot of the Irene House was damaged. So that's another one of these tragic events that have happened to Balham over the years. Yes, as you can see, guess what? It's luxury flats. £340,000 for a one-bedroom studio.
Cheap.
Well, you say it's cheap. This area is just picking up so fast. And this over here is the church in question. The bins were just down here. Ah, the bells. Hear the bells. I think there's a few people complain about these bells because I think they go on all night. I'm not sure if that's right. Tell us in the comments if that is the case. But I think this is the place where people do moan a bit about the bell. So it's a St Mary and St John the Divine. Here we go.
And it's raining. It's not supposed to rain today.
It's not supposed to rain, is it? No. Okay, so we are here at the amazing Duquesne Court. This building was built in about 1937, I believe, and it's fantastic. It's Art Deco. Well, it's very Art Deco inside. We're going to have a look at that in a second. But on the outside, it's also Art Deco, but it's probably less obviously Art Deco. It was the largest privately owned block of flats in Europe that's under one roof, apparently. And it also had Japanese gardens designed by the famous Sayamon Kazimoto. Now the front courtyard on the right, that's got some of the original plants and trees that were planted back in 1937. There were 4 such areas, but this is the only one that sort of got a lot of the original plants and trees. It used to have its own restaurant as well on the 7th floor, but I believe that went in the 50s. Another interesting thing is, before you actually could move in here to rent, it originally started off as a rental area. You had to have an interview, a big interview process, to prove that you were someone who was desirable to live in this fantastic property. Now, a lot of famous people have lived here. Tommy Trinder, you know him. He used to be he was a comedian, a vaudeville comedian. He was also the chairman of Fulham FC. He used to live here. Christine Keeler used to live here as well. Margaret Rutherford. Arthur Smith, you must have heard of Arthur Smith. He's a comedian. He still lives here. He calls himself the Bard of Balham. He also calls himself the Knight Mayor of Balham. He doesn't do days, apparently. Fantastic person. Ian Freeman lives here. You know Ian Freeman, don't you? You know Ian Freeman?
Of course, I know him very well, yes.
Yes, tell me a bit about Ian Freeman.
One of my favourite people.
Yes, this is Ian Freeman, ladies and gentlemen. Ian Freeman is, he's the patron of the Royal Variety Club.
I'm a trustee of the Royal Variety charity, yes.
He's got a lot of very well-known family connections. He is the nephew of Lord Lou Grade, and which obviously means that he's also the cousin of Lord Michael Grade.
Absolutely.
Great.
If you want to continue this inside, because it's starting to rain,
isn't it? But so I mean, you've lived here. This picks it all up. You've lived here for quite a number of years, I believe. Is that right?
37 years.
37 years.
Yeah.
And did you have to?
Man and boy, not in that order though. I was a boy first and man afterwards.
And did you have to do an interview?
No, that had gone out by the time we moved in. That requirement.
Right.
So we'll come into the main reception, main lobby area.
And it's a real community spirit here, is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows each other. You've all got your own email addresses, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, pretty much.
Of duquesnecourt.com.
No, that's right. There's 22 different postcodes in the building.
22 different postcodes. Oh. Okay. Yes.
Wow, he's looking at no one.
Oh, this is wonderful. Look at this. So obviously he's got these wonderful Art Deco mirrors on the wall.
Yeah,
I assume it's all original, or the.
No, I don't think they're original, but the public areas are refurbished sort of every 6 or 7 years, and they do maintain the Art Deco look.
Yeah. Beautiful. I mean, it's palatial.
We've had to put up this. We put all this up during the pandemic, obviously, but which has sort of spoiled the look a bit. But it fits in quite well.
Yeah, as you know, probably be taking it down hopefully before long.
All being well. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is lovely. And you got
a nice new lifts which you need.
Okay. And you have look at these Art Deco staircases as well. Ah, look at that.
There's no hope there'll be no gallons of blood don't come pouring out of these things.
You could just have a look inside here.
Look at the floor.
Go outside now.
Well, that's the honeycomb.
Please mind the door.
I think there's a fellow waiting to use it.
Closing. Doors open.
There used to be a restaurant, yes, but that went. I can't remember when. It's now
50s,
converted to apartments. There was a bar, a gym, all that sort of thing, but now obviously they were all converted into flats some years ago.
Right.
For obvious commercial reasons.
Yeah, of course. I don't blame them. Oh, it's just absolutely beautiful. And funny enough, because I used to live around here in 1994 for only a couple of weeks, but I used to come past here every day, obviously on the way into work. I used to admire it, and I said, I love that building. That's great. Yeah, well, that was nice, wasn't it? That was Ian Freeman. Now, let me just tell you a little bit. If you want to know more about this place, Duquesne Court, there's a book, and it's called A History of Duquesne Court, Land, Architecture, People and Politics. It's 280 pages, so it's quite a hefty tome, really good for your coffee table. There's a link down there in the YouTube description where you can buy it, and via a special Amazon affiliate link. All money that is raised will actually go, and I'm sure you've actually noticed in the corner just up there of your screen, you'll see the Ukrainian heart symbol. That's because today any money that's raised on this video, including buying books or whatever will go to a charity raising, bringing food over to the border, the Polish border with Ukraine, and we're going to be talking to them very shortly in this video, so don't go away. It's very exciting. In fact, every single penny that this video makes will go to that charity. Basically, we're not monetized yet. We need to have 1,000 subscribers, and we need to have had 4,000 hours of all our videos being viewed over the past year. In order to reach that limit, then we can start monetizing. So if you please share this video on your social media, subscribe to the channel. Even if you don't normally subscribe to YouTube channels, it doesn't cost you anything, because once we start monetizing, then any revenue that this video produces will go to that charity to help the people crossing over from Ukraine. So just subscribe. You can join our Patreon as well, but this really isn't about us, this episode. This is about them. So we're not so bothered about the Patreon. Just subscribe, share, like this video, add comments to the YouTube channel chat bit down the bottom, because YouTube likes that. It shows that we're interacting with people. But just talk about us and share this video, because then we can be monetized, and then this video will start generating income for people who need it much more than we do. But there is of course another way that you can make an immediate difference. Since we filmed this video, Sharon has completed a drawing of Duquesne Court, which we will be auctioning off via eBay. This auction will last 10 days from the date of this video going live, and 100% of the bid will be given to the charity you will be meeting shortly in this video. We really hope it will raise loads of money, so please share this video and make it happen. Just popped over to Spain to see my family, where Sharon has been completing the work as you've just seen, and here it is.
I'm no Picasso, but this is just a little something that we were doing to raise a little money for the charity that we were visiting. It's just graphite. It's a graphite wash and pencil. A quick study of Duquesne Court. So this is on a Spanish-made paper, which is full rag, archival, acid-free. So like I said, it's just a little something relating to Duquesne Court, and just an appreciation of the charity and the people who let us visit.
And if you go to our link down the bottom, if you're very fast, you'll be able to find it on eBay. We're going to start it at a relatively reasonable price.
We're not taking a penny. This is all
We're not taking
charity.
a penny.
Love your London.
Okay, so just opposite the Polish church, we have here the Polish Social Club, and they have been doing amazing work. Yeah, so here we are. This is the Polish Social Club, the White Eagle Club. The White Eagle being one of Poland's emblems. They have been doing some amazing work for the refugees coming over from Ukraine into Poland. When they first announced a couple of weeks ago that they were taking collections, there were queues going all the way down this street with people bringing stuff. Right now they need a lot of help with moving things around. So as you can see, no more donations until between 6 and 8 p.m.
It's a bit heavy. Can we save the little ones? Can we save the little ones to last?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Guys, do you have enough people there?
Yeah, we do. I think we do.
Wow.
No, that's the one.
Oh, wow, what a system.
This is amazing.
Yeah, no worries.
I went wrong.
Can't stop me now.
Fantastic. So as you can see, there's a really good line of people who are helping out, bringing boxes over, and they take deliveries to the Polish-Ukraine border. And it's a fantastic system, and look at all these boxes that are coming along.
Yes, I'm going. 6 in the morning, still coming in the door.
Hi there. Pet food. So we've got people box making, we've got people labelling as well, lots and lots of packets and stuff. Fantastic effort. Here of course we've got lots of clothes and bedding, all going with toys as well. And Kate is going to be meeting us shortly. We're just waiting for her to come down and maybe tell us a little bit about all the fantastic work that is being done. I was going to get out of people's way.
No problem.
Actually,
It's a hive of activity in there.
it is.
I felt like I was in the way, so I came back out.
Yeah.
I got my books and bags and so on, but they're well stocked.
No, it's fantastic. They've got everything really. They've got sanitary items,
But
nappies, dog food, everything's all beautifully labelled and all going out. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Kate shortly.
I said I'm ready when you are.
As you can see, there's now a 7.5 ton truck that has just pulled up. That is now also being filled. I mean, this is just an ongoing activity here, hour upon hour. Absolutely fantastic work that they're doing.
Off to you.
Okay, so we're here at the moment with Kate. You are...
I'm responsible for media and communications at White Eagle Club. So yeah.
Fantastic, and it's a fantastic job that you're doing. We were filming earlier all the people helping out. I mean, you're still looking for donations, is that right?
Yes, we're looking for donations. We now have dedicated time slots when we're accepting them. Please stay updated on our social media, White Eagle Club on Facebook and Instagram. And we're very grateful for all this community effort, for all the volunteering effort that's going on. It's incredible to see how much people are willing to get united and stay together to help Ukraine. I'm originally from Ukraine, so that's a very important cause for me.
Fantastic. You'll see on your screen all the social media information. Also, I'd be interested because I read that there's been some real delays at Dover and stuff like that. Have you had any problems with?
None of our vehicles have problems with transportation. We have all the custom clearance documents for the trusted trucks with our donations, and we are able to dispatch the donations and get them to the destination fairly quickly. And that's something that the whole team is working very hard on.
Well, that's really good to know, because I think at the beginning there were some delays because people didn't have the T1 forms or whatever. That's fantastic.
As far as we know, the process should become easier, at least because the cause calls for it.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything else that you want to maybe talk about sort of like things, ways that people can help?
So just to highlight, it started as a Polish community effort. Our Polish neighbors are very supportive and extremely helpful and trying to do the best they can. And now it's grown to, as you can see, a big scale operation with a lot of nationalities, all the people from all corners of London coming in. We're looking for specific bulk donations of medical equipment, first aid kits, large bandages, large dressings. We're looking for tinned food and and for baby clothing and baby food as well. So those are the items that are in the highest priorities, and we're constantly in touch with the Ukrainian side to understand what are the needs at the moment and where do they need help the most.
And this is all going to a refugee camp in Poland on the border with Ukraine or other parts as well?
Both. No, it's going directly to Ukraine, so it's both Ukraine and Poland. So we're not just leaving we're not just dispatching the nations to Poland. We're actually getting them over the border to Ukraine, to the most to the destinations where the help is needed.
Well, that must be so stressful for obviously for everyone, but well done for doing this. It's absolutely fantastic.
Every time the phone rings, you're like,
the phone is ringing non-stop. The emails are dropping messages. We're so grateful for this upscale of goodwill.
Yeah.
It's local, but then it's not really. It's uniting everyone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for taking time out to speak to us, and Slava Ukraini.
Thank you. Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava.
Yeah, so that was amazing, wasn't it? Just amazing, all the work that they're doing. Now we can't really go past here without. I've just spotted Marius Road, which is, funnily enough, just out of interest, because I actually stayed here for a couple of weeks in the late summer of 1994. So I know that a couple of the subscribers used to live there as well. So I just have to have a look, see what it looks like.
raindrops keep falling on my lens. Keep falling.
Oh look, they've painted the Ukrainian colours on that.
I think that was there first.
Oh well, they've all got the Ukrainian colours.
No, they don't.
Yeah, there we go. It's up there, top floor.
What, in the centre?
No, one of those sides. It's like that one or that one.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah,
that was worth the walk.
It was just interesting to.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, a couple of our subscribers will be interested anyway.
Well, yeah, like I said, you.
Hi, James.
You sure know how to show a lady a good time.
Okay, so next place. Yeah, it's a horrible day. It's now really raining, and I forgot to bring a coat because I didn't actually check the weather report. It looked so lovely this morning, but that's the problem. Brought you here to the Tramyard. This gives you the name Tramyard gives you a good idea of what this place used to be. It used to be a yard where for horse-drawn trams. They used to leave the trams there. It's like their depot. It then became, when roller skating craze took on, it then became a massive big roller skate ballroom here. And then it became a tramyard, a coach depot again. So funnily enough, it went back to its original usage. Now, guess what it is?
It's luxury flats.
Says good, yes. Yeah, the two-bed flat here goes between £700,000 and £800,000. There is one three-bed flat here going for £830,000, but the other ones go for much more. Unfortunately, we can't even probably afford a broom cupboard in there. We're broke.
We can't afford a broom.
And just next to the Tramyard, we were just talking about poles earlier on. We're at the Polish Club. It's a different type of pole in here. This is the CRU, the United Services Rendered Social Club Limited. And they teach pole dancing in here. Now, unfortunately, they don't teach pole dancing on a Friday. Maybe in a future episode, we might have a little go at pole dancing. That'd be fun. You'd like to see me swivel on a pole, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it sounds very
mankini time.
No. It's that's the thing. Pole dancing.
It's a family place, isn't it?
It is. Well, no, it really is. Pole dancing is no longer. Obviously, it does have a seedy element as well.
Shame on me. I don't keep track of these things.
It's going to be an Olympic sport.
Oh right, cool. Like with skateboarding and etching.
Pole dancing has just been made an official sport. So they're hoping that for the Brisbane Olympics in 2032, that maybe it'll be an exhibition sport. As you know, in the next Olympics in Paris, breakdancing is going to be an Olympic sport. Everything's changing, and the children of today could be the pole dancers of tomorrow. It's no longer. Men, women, all genders, they all take part in pole dancing these days, and it's fantastic. This is the Lebanese Gardens. This restaurant, actually, every time I come past here, it's a different restaurant. It wasn't that long ago. It was called Bodine's, I think. It was a American style Texas barbecue place, and this used to be Ferrari's years and years ago. It's now Lebanese Gardens. They show the football here and stuff as well, and they've got a hookah lounge. But this road here is Let me just. Yes. So this road here is Ritherdon Road. This is a lovely little road full of really cool restaurants and shops. They used to have, before pre-pandemic, they used to have a summer market here, and I think a Christmas market as well. I think they're still doing the Christmas market. I don't know if they're doing a summer market this year, but they'd have stalls set up here, all the way from here going up to the left. It's really nice. I don't know if it's coming back. Now this whole area, it's a very posh area actually. It's actually designed by Alfred Heaver in the 1880s. And one thing about it, I mean not so much these houses here, but the houses towards the right, one thing about it is that each house is slightly different, and that was Heaver's style. So it's called the Heaver Estate, and they're lovely buildings. Yeah, so this is Manville Road. You got Manville Road here, Huron Road over there. These are all very typical of Heaver's architecture. But we're actually going to be coming here hopefully next month, so in a very future episode, very soon episode, we're going to meet a chap that lives down here who is a fantastic artist, and I'm really looking forward to maybe interviewing him for our channel. So yeah, so we'll be coming down here again very shortly. But let's now make our way towards Bedford Hill. And then we'll work our way up back towards Balham Station. Oh, so we're heading. This is the loop. Yes, we're doing. Well, it's not a loop as such. Well, it's an isosceles triangle.
It's an isosceles triangle. That's one of my 3 favorite types of triangle.
That's great. That's great. Yes, I much prefer it to the boring equilateral triangle.
Or the scary scalene.
Yes. Anyway, so we're going to make our way to
educational channel.
It's an educational channel, absolutely. There you go.
I'm trying to stay warm, making bad jokes and singing. It works. I am absolutely frozen.
It is very cold and wet. I wish I brought a coat.
I'm down below 60 kilograms now too. I'm turning into a waif.
Yeah. A waif with the fairies. We're here on Bedford Hill. This is Bedford Hill. This road completely changed actually. This used to be quite a seedy part of town. Used to be a red light district. There'd be ladies of the night lining up between here and the common.
Oh, were you a curb crawler?
I most certainly was not.
Damn, how boring.
No. It used to be. In fact, it used to be a real problem right from the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way up to the mid to late noughties, but it's gone now. It's cleared up. I don't know where they've gone, but it used to be a real problem, and female pedestrians would get hassled quite a lot walking down here with curb crawlers stopping, thinking that they were that kind of person, which was very distressing for them, of course. But yes, we're not going to be going down there. That's Tooting Commons. We're not going to be going down there in this episode, but we will be doing that in a future episode, maybe even the next one. We haven't filmed it yet. We're going to be doing that whole area of Tooting Beck, Tooting Broadway, the Common as well. But we're now going to make our way back towards Balham, as I said, to complete the isosceles triangle.
Is that the bridge?
That's the bridge. Yes.
That's the trestle. It's not the same road.
It's not the same road. No, that is the bridge.
I know where I am.
Yep.
Excellent. I got my pigeon navigation.
But we are going to have a couple of drinks as well on the way. Of course we are. And we'll be passing a couple of restaurants we might have a chat about. Okay, so we're now approaching our first pit stop of the evening. But as you'll see here, we have another little cluster of lovely, fantastic restaurants. This really is a foodie place. We showed you earlier, we thought we could see a Nepalese and a Japanese opposite Duquesne Court. This is Metse Matsi's, catering to the Greek community and offering plenty of Greek food, Mediterranean food. I've read some very good reviews here. Over here we have sourdough pizzas. It is Caminata, catering to the Italian community. And here we have Tiki Teo, catering to the Hawaiian community of Balham.
Hey, it's nice and 7-foot longboard, or 7-foot board.
I don't know if there is a Hawaiian community in Balham. I'm not sure if many Hawaiians would want to leave Hawaii to come to Balham. You never know. It's actually
6 foot. I had one just like it.
Did you? Yeah. So anyway, there you go. So many places. But the place that we want to take you to now, well, this is a legendary place in the world of comedy and in the world of music. It's called the Bedford. I used to come here when back in the mid-90s to the Banana Cabaret. It was running since 1983 and it's still running. It's still going strong today. But it's also a great music venue. Ed Sheeran, U2, The Clash. They've all played in there. Some early gigs. As far as the comedy, you had Joe Brand and Sarah Pascoe has done lots of gigs. Famously, Mark Thomas. He used to do his Mark Thomas comedy project there, and I used to go and see all the Mark Thomas things. In fact, if you look at some of the Mark Thomas videos in the past, you'll actually see me in the audience. That was back of my head anyway. I had more hair then, or at least more hair on the back. Oh yes, this is a broken telephone box. Actually, I'll tell you what, it's quite funny that there's a broken telephone box here.
The phone part is gone. Boy, they steal the good stuff.
If you remember in that sketch of the Balham Gateway to the South, there's one bit where there's a person doing a marathon to try and find a working phone box in Balham. Well, there you go. What the hell is he going on about, broken telephone boxes in Balham? You are quite possibly saying to yourselves right now, in which case here's a little bit of British comedy history. Back in 1949, Frank Muir and Dennis Norden, yes, the guy who used to do those It'll Be Alright on the Night shows, wrote a comedy sketch called Balham Gateway to the South, or rather Balham Gateway to the South, because one of the jokes was the mispronunciation of Balham. The sketch over-exaggerated the wonders of Balham and was very funny. Peter Sellers, who was the narrator, actually went on to perform it solo in 1958, and it appears on The Best of Sellers, a CD that costs just £3.49 via our Amazon affiliate link, and any money from that will also go to the White Eagle Club raising money for Ukraine. However, in 1981 it was expanded into a mockumentary, directed by none other than Mickey Dolenz, the sole surviving member of the Monkees. It is really, really funny, showing a North American couple discover the joys of Balham for themselves, with loads and loads of very funny cameo appearances from a very youthful Robbie Coltrane. While this long-lasting comedy sketch initially turned Balham into a figure of fun for Londoners for over 30 years, Balham had the last laugh. By the late 80s, house prices began to soar, the literati started to move in, and now, of course, it's hipster central. At the end of this Love Your London episode, there will be a little box that you can click on and see Mickey Dolenz's comedy sketch for yourselves. And funnily enough, it's hosted on Ian Freeman's YouTube channel. Now, there's a coincidence. If you haven't seen it, do check it out, but wait till you've seen our episode first. Oh, and that broken telephone boxes thing? Well, yes, there's one scene where someone in Balham is running in the Find a Telephone Box That Works marathon, which is why I thought it was very droll to find a broken phone box outside the trap kitchen on Bedford Hill. We still haven't found one as a broken phone box.
That was real too.
Yeah.
It's not a prop.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. That's sometimes fiction is what's the expression?
Fiction inspires reality. I don't know if that's an expression.
Something.
An example of it.
Anyway, so let's make our way over to the Bedford. But yes, as I was saying, Mark Thomas's comedy project. Mark Thomas is an amazing activist and comedian. He has very important issues that he likes to discuss in his performances. And one of the things that we did when we went to see Mark Thomas, yes, it was the Ilisu Dam in Turkish Kurdistan that they were planning. Balfour Beatty, a British company, was going to build this reservoir, which would have displaced thousands and thousands of Kurdish people, and also this particular village of Hazan Kaif was going to be completely underwater. So what Mark Thomas got us all to do in the audience was we all became shareholders of Balfour Beatty. He got us all our email details and got us subscribed, and we all voted against it at their AGM, and in fact Balfour Beatty pulled out of the whole deal. Unfortunately, in 2006, I believe it was, Prime Minister Erdogan of Turkey got Siemens to build it, or at least a company owned by Siemens, VA Tech. It's an Austrian company. Siemens has not got a very positive history. They supplied electrical parts to Nazi concentration death camps. They had a stake in Auschwitz, used slave labour from women at the Ravensbrück concentration camp, and they sponsored the Real Madrid football shirt. Really is no limit to their evil. But anyway, there you go. They've now done the Ilisu Dam as well. So boo Siemens. But let's now have a drink here in the Bedford. Can't wait. There's some really interesting stories about Bedford as well. It's haunted.
Piss talk.
It's haunted. Okay.
I just want to haunt my mouth.
Okay. Oh, that was lovely. That's a lovely place. Now we're here in the Bedford. As I said, comedy venue. I forgot to mention Eddie Izzard, also Tom Allen. Pretty much everyone has walked the boards here. It's a fantastic room. I wanted to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you in a moment. But they're having a baby jam in there. I'm not really sure what a baby jam is, but it involves babies. So we can't really bring our camera in there right now. But when we can go in, maybe not so close.
No, I wanted to show the water on your glasses.
Oh, right, okay. Yes.
Oh, you can edit that.
That's fine.
It's fine. It's not too close. Oh, I might.
I've now got to keep the water on the glasses for continuity, haven't I?
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
It's okay.
It's all right if I show myself cleaning the glasses. That's fine. There we go. See, perfectionists. Quality product. Right now.
Educational channel.
Yes. Well, we're going to tell you a little bit about this place because a bit of history now. We're going to be telling you a little bit about this pub because it's haunted. There was an inquest that took place here. It was a chap called Charles Bravo. I think his original name was Charles Delaunay Turney or something like that. And he used to live, he was a barrister, and he used to live in the Priory, which is it's now luxury flats, of course, but it was a big building going down towards the bottom end of Bedford Hill, where we'll be going in the next episode, towards the Common. And now he was found poisoned. And this happened he was found poisoned on the 18th of April 1878. And he didn't die straight away. He was an agonising death. It took a few days. He died on the 21st of April, so that's 18, 19, 23 days. But in that period, he didn't explain exactly what had happened to him, whether he had committed suicide, tried to commit suicide, or whether he had been poisoned by someone else. They couldn't get it out of him. So he went to a trial. The first trial was held at the Priory. And they couldn't work out whether or not it was suicide, so it went to a trial by inquest. And the trial by inquest took place right here in the ballroom, which we'll be looking at in a second. Now, there were 3 suspects who could have poisoned him. One was his wife of only 4 months, as in they'd only been married for 4 months. Her name was Florence, and she was a very wealthy woman. But he had a lot of her own money, and apparently Charles was very bitter about that, the fact that she wasn't sort of sharing her wealth with him. So, and he wasn't very nice to her either. He apparently asked for some very uncomfortable sexual. I can't really go into details here because it's a family channel, but. Yes, so basically, he was very coercive, and a real bully. So there's a possibility that Florence killed him with poison, or there was also a possibility that she just tried to calm his sexual urges down by using this antimony. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Which killed him, because she actually knew about her previous husband was an alcoholic, and she would probably, in order to stop him from drinking so much, would give small amounts of antimony to him. That was quite common. So maybe he overdosed by accident. We don't know. She obviously said that she was completely innocent. The other person who was a possible suspect is Dr. Gully. Now, Dr. Gully was Florence's former lover. In fact, she'd had an abortion. Well, she got pregnant with him while she was still with her previous husband, and he performed an abortion on her, which almost killed her. But he was obsessed with her, and Dr. Gully was very angry that Florence had gone on to marry Charles, because he was kind of hoping that he could be the next, well, that she could be Mrs. Gully. Actually, he had a really, really strong alibi proving that there's absolutely no way that it could have been him. So it was very unlikely that he was here. He was nowhere near the scene at the time. The other person who was a suspect was Jane Cannon Cox, and she was the maid of Bravo, and Bravo was going to sack her. So they thought that maybe because she knew that Bravo had asked his wife to tell Jane that she was going to be sacked, so maybe Jane did the poisoning. It's very unlikely, because Jane Cox actually had loads of. She was going to inherit a huge plantation, 3 plantations actually in the West Indies. She was someone who it wouldn't have really mattered if she'd lost her job as a maid. So she had very little to gain by murdering Charles Bravo. So very unlikely that it was her. So it is almost certainly the wife. But the funny thing is, this pub, and no one really knows why, this pub is supposedly haunted by the ghost of Dr. Gully. No idea why, because Dr. Gully didn't live here. He was nowhere near the murder. But they say that Dr. Gully appears, and he's been appearing here since then. But just a very interesting story, isn't it? And if you want to find out more, there are at least 3 books available on Amazon via our affiliate link, as well as a DVD starring Michael Fassbender as Charles Bravo, which is one of Julian Fellowes' hour-long series of unsolved murder mysteries, and any commission earned from these will, of course, go to Ukraine, as will everything else from this episode. Yes, I'm here with the manager of the Bedford, or is it Banana Cabaret?
Banana Cabaret.
It's a Banana Cabaret. So you are a separate institution, are you? All
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We've been through various different management at the Bedford. We've been here nearly 40 years next year.
Yes, 1983, wasn't it? It started.
Yeah.
Wow, and I mean, there's been so many famous comedians who started here, isn't that right?
Absolutely, it was Eddie Izzard's first gig. I forgot that, but he said that he mentioned us in a Sunday Times article. As this was, I think, Sunday Times. It was his first gig, and basically everybody, McIntyre, Frank Skinner, Joe Lycett, they've all been.
Sarah Pascoe, she's one of my favourites.
Yes, likewise. She's done our festival in the past. We have a festival every July. We have a festival.
Where's that?
Balham Comedy Festival. That's in our main room.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's here. That's
here. And we've been doing that. This will be our 10th Balham Comedy Festival this July.
That's great.
So we're looking forward to that.
And it's every week, every Friday.
We do Banana Cabarets every Friday and Saturday night since time immemorial. Really.
Yeah. And what sort of prices are they changed depending on who's coming, or?
No, it's standard. It's a standard price. It's £18 on a Saturday, 16 on a Friday.
Great.
And sometimes we get drop-ins by comics who've now made it and big names, but otherwise, it's kind of one of the premier comedy clubs. We've been here so long. As I said, everybody's been through here.
Yeah.
And so, it's always a fantastic lineup. Lots of people just come without even caring who's on, because they know it's going to be such a really good time, because they're all seriously professional comics.
And have you had any sort of any interesting anecdotes or anything that you'd like to share, like a hecklers or?
No, people don't really heckle. We've got a really comedy savvy audience here who actually really listen. So if any real cerebral stuff, they'll be really into. So to be fair, we don't ever have any trouble. Very few bits of heckling. It's just about pure comedy and people enjoying it and coming out for the crack.
I love comedy. I mean, we've been doing the London Comedy Writers since 2000, which is a lot of stand-ups sort of try out their material with us and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm close friends with quite a few. Like Lewis Schaefer, he's a good friend of mine. He's a lovely guy.
He's played here.
He's been here. Oh, right. Wow.
Everybody's been here.
Everyone's been here. Yeah. Yeah, as I said, Mark Thomas, I think I went to pretty much all of the comedy projects. I must have been to...
it's fantastic, because he wanted to film it here, because he obviously played here loads, and he just liked the venue, and he's local, so he came to do his comedy project here back in the 90s.
I signed up to Balfour Beatty to get shares to try and stop them building that dam, and he got everyone in the audience to give him £1 and signed everyone up, and then
I remember that.
all voted against it at the AGM. It worked, but unfortunately they've gone ahead with another company in the end. But there you go. How did you cope during the pandemic? Was that obviously badly, but did you get any sort of grants or anything to help at all?
No, too small really, because the Arts Council grants started at £50,000, and there needed to be something smaller for smaller clubs. All right for really big venues, but it didn't work for us. So no, it's just a struggle. It was furloughing staff and just coping. So it was a long 18 months.
Oh, horrible. And then when the restrictions were beginning to be lifted, did you have less audiences, or? Yeah,
because of social distancing, we had to have much smaller audiences. So again, you're working on a 50-60% audience. Which is a massive struggle. At least you're doing something. The point is, we were working again. So even though it's you're not really making anything, it's still important to just go, we're here. We're back, and we'll be back. And once it starts again, so you don't basically go dark for 2 years and then re-emerge. You do as much as you can. along the way. You know, lots of people were doing Zoom stuff, lots of other clubs. More difficult here.
Yeah.
And also I live in Brighton. But it was a real struggle. And so, to be fair, it was for so many people. It was very difficult financially.
Well, hopefully we'll never see anything like this again.
Now we have a war.
But it's just lovely to be opening again. We opened again as soon as we were allowed to, with social distancing, and then from last July, you know, we could kind of, there was no rules per se. And it's as busy as ever. It's great. People are really swarming back because they just want to be out and having a laugh, and it's really great.
Another roaring 20s is on its way, hopefully. Hang in there. Light at the end of the tunnel.
But because we've always seen ourselves as a place for new talent as well as established. So there's always going to be newer acts or just the odd trial acts, as well as established circuit acts.
And I saw who's on the billing tonight, but by the time this goes live, that'll be history. Have you got any major acts planned in the coming months?
I can't really tell you that because they don't want to be listed.
Why is that?
Spoils the surprise.
Because there's a couple of big names wouldn't want to be listed. Because Marcus Brigstock just played the other week. He didn't mind being, but a lot of people don't like to be listed because they're just about to tour or it's work in progress and they just want a surprise.
Okay.
So I can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
So you say you mentioned it beforehand, like a week before or so?
No.
It's a surprise on the night.
Yes.
All right, that's interesting.
I don't, because usually it's full anyway, and it's just a nice surprise. I just like our crowd to have a surprise sometimes. We didn't expect that one. So it entertains me that they sometimes have no idea that the big name's coming up. It's
hopefully we'll come and see you now that everything's finally opening up again.
Yes,
You can actually have bums and seats, enough to break even.
Are you sold out tonight? Or?
Yeah. I mean, these days, to be honest, it's kind of like a normal. Yeah. It's back to normal. I mean, our busiest months are really January, February, March, and it's the same. So we're sold out. We're sold out most nights. I often don't sell out till the actual day, but by the time the show starts, we're sold out.
That's great.
So book early.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you. You heard that? Book early if you want to come here, and you might get a surprise act that you weren't expecting. Yeah. So there you go.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks ever so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Okay, so here we go. This is it. The Banana Cabaret. This is where all the magic happens. Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Banana Cabaret. We are here. What a fantastic audience you have. Lovely to see so many friendly faces, and well, welcome. Love you, London. It's a dirty, cold, wet day. I wish I'd checked the weather forecast before leaving the house this morning. Look at all these people. Well, most of them are prepared with umbrellas. I'm not, but there again, filming with an umbrella, so cumbersome. But I want to show you this. This is, as you can see, Impressions of Balham by Christine Thomas and Julia Barton, 1991. They're 4 cold cast bronze reliefs. And what they're doing is they're showing ordinary Balham folk, and I believe that quite a lot of them are quite recognisable to the local community. And the fact that they're all squished together is showing the community spirit and the fact that everyone is so close. So as you can see, there's lots of people there, some of them with funny sunglasses. It's interesting. I mean, it's put it this way, you don't have one, do you? Balham has one.
They're not Benin bronzes though, are they?
They're not Benin
We'll edit-
bronzes,
we'll edit
they're
that
Balham
out.
bronzes.
We'll edit
No,
that
no,
out.
no,
The
no.
Benin bronzes should go back to Africa anyway.
Absolutely. And now we're going to cross over to the exhibit. Lots of different arts and stuff. They have a cinema. Yeah, it is LGBTQI plus friendly. And they have lots of drag nights here as well. They have naked speed dating.
And draw your own bits.
Yes, that's right.
Or draw some bits.
Yes, they have what do you call it? They have life drawing here every Wednesday night. They have life drawing with a model that comes in, £10, and they provide you with all the drawing equipment and paper and everything, which is really good value. And that's every Wednesday night, and at least twice a month they tend to have other life drawing events happening. It's all catering to different types of the different niches. There's one. Well, it's fine. Just go on their website. The website's on your screen now. It's all pretty reasonably priced. They have comedy here as well, not of the calibre that you get obviously at the Banana Cabaret across the road, but you have for £5 you get a night of comedy, which is really good value. You get some future established stars that will, I'm sure, make the transition surely to the Banana Cabaret before long. I mean, as I said, there's life drawing here as well. Talking of bottoms, they also have a bottomless brunch, which is really good value actually. For just £29.50, the bottomless brunch means you get an item of brunch and as much Prosecco and Heineken that you can drink in 90 minutes, which is...
Oh, dude, check out the rainbow.
Oh, wow. Look at that rainbow.
Nice. It's a multi one. It's not a double, but...
Look at that. Perfect arch.
Yeah.
And talking of bottoms, also they have here naked speed dating. Naked speed dating for gay and straight people. It's meant to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's not for the older people. It's 23 to 35-year-olds only. But anyway, there you go. That's the exhibit where you can exhibit yourself. You can be painted. You can if you're into modelling as a life model, or you can exhibit yourself naked in a speed date. Let's check it out. We're doing a little vlog about London. We've been doing it for 2 years, but we're doing Balham today.
Okay.
And so we've been to the Banana Cabaret. We've been all around, and we're just really speaking about different bars and what people can go and see now the pandemic is over and come here to Balham. So I've been explaining about the naked speed dating and the bottomless brunches.
Yes.
What else? Anything else? How long have you been open?
Well, it has been here 22 years, over 22 years now. So it has been like a late night venue with Balham for a long time.
Yeah.
But we opened just after the last lockdown immediately. It has been really fun, obviously, to provide like proper entertainment again. We do live music. We do comedy nights.
Yeah.
What are probably the most popular ones.
Yes.
And we have a garden outside, so we're waiting basically the sun to come out.
Have you had any great comedians here, or ones that have then gone on to become very...
There's actually there's a night for really professional nights as well, where they do and perform the new material. Right. So there's a lot of actually famous comedians who have been here, and it's every second Thursday.
Every second Thursday?
Yeah, so definitely a night to come down.
And you got live drawing on a Wednesday night?
Live drawing on Wednesday night with a beautiful naked model.
Yeah.
Very popular as well, and they do naked brunch on Sundays.
Naked brunch on Sundays?
On first Sunday a month, and then they have bottomless bubbles with the live drawing. Okay. So it's good fun.
Okay, and does everyone get naked at the naked brunch, or just the...
No, the naked brunch is doing a naked live drawing, but the people who draw, they have clothes.
I thought everyone else was naked as well.
No.
But you do have a naked speed dating as well, don't you?
We have had one round of it.
Yeah.
It was a little bit male heavy.
Okay.
So we are gathering more women to take part of it.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of gut, but we get great exposure from it, obviously, and it was a real fun night. Something different, definitely.
Yeah.
And life is up a little bit like the Balham neighborhood life here.
Yeah, sure. And it's
happy hour every day from 5 to 7.
Yeah.
It's for us. It's literally like a communal place. Exhibit. We want to exhibit everything: art, music, comedy. Build a real communal space for everyone around here.
Yeah.
So we try to offer as much as possible.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, bottomless brunches, happy hours, live music, comedy, drawing,
and
dance classes,
cinema as well.
And we have a private little cinema upstairs for 24 people with cushy leather sofas, and you can come and rent it out or do karaoke in it. And every floor has a balcony, so in the summer it's like really nice and breezy in here. So.
And if someone wants to show a movie, do they? Is it on DVD only, or can they also?
You can connect anything to it.
But also real or cinema reel or?
No, we don't use cinema reel.
36, not
so it's all like a modern projector.
Yeah. But
it's great quality, so you can put anything through it really. DVD, computer, whatever device you have nowadays.
Yeah.
So very modern like that.
Fantastic. Looks really nice and comfortable as well.
So that's our gallery room. There's a private event later here, so it's decorated for a birthday.
Yeah.
But that's where we do dance classes sometimes because we have mirrors.
Yeah.
And from here you really can see Balham.
Yeah, there you go. There's Balham.
So that's.
There was a rainbow just a few minutes ago.
There was but
great
I missed
big
it
one
as well.
And the rain is back. Yay!
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Cool. But yeah, it's a nifty little venue. Lot of possibilities.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Well, very cool. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to have a little quick look here at the exhibit garden, which is also available for private hire. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Look at that. And it's sheltered as well, which is perfect.
Sure.
And this is a good place, really, to end the current episode. There's going to be loads more that we're going to be showing you, and Balham, Tooting, and the whole area around here. Can't wait to show it. We haven't actually filmed it yet. We're going to be filming it very, very shortly. But we can tell you that we hope to be visiting the Sewing Museum. Also, we are no. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun. We're also going to be going around Tooting Common, or Tooting Commons, I think is the correct way of calling it. We'll be checking out, hopefully, the artist that we showed you where his house was earlier. He'll hopefully be around then. We can maybe have a talk to him. Maybe the pole dancing, you never know, if we can maybe have a go at the pole dancing. They've still got to get back in touch with us. And we're also eventually going to be starting to move around Tooting and checking out the fabulous restaurants around there. That is one of the curry miles. It's just like a whole mile of Indian restaurants, including Sadiq Khan's favourite restaurant, by the way. So all that to look forward to in the next episode, and maybe the one after that. We don't know yet how many episodes we're going to be doing in Balham, but if this is anything to go by, we've only really covered a very small area. We've still got North Balham to go, all up towards Clapham South, and of course the Tootings. So
love your London. See you next time. We so suck.
And don't forget that if you're among the first people to watch this video, you can still bid on Sharon's artwork to raise money for the amazing local Balham charity, sending van loads of essential goods to those who most need it, fleeing from the horrors in Ukraine. Don't forget to share this video so that as many people as possible get to hear about this worthy cause. And please remember to subscribe to our channel to keep updated. From Acton Town to Wimbledon, from Brixton to Beyond, love your London, have a banana.